Hello!
We did it!
Same time.
Woohoo!
Bam!
We've been trying to do that for 14 weeks.
We've arrived.
Yay!
So, yes, so this is week 14 of
Ask a Health Coach with
Sarah.
Heather.
Yay!
I'm so excited that the sun is shining and it's a beautiful day here in Nashville.
It is true. Blue skies.
We're both drinking energy mate
Yes.
today. Raise your hand if you stayed up late last night.
Yes. Super late.
It was a late night for most people.
So,
I'm excited about our topic though, but
yeah.
Energy mate tastes delicious. You don't even need it sweetened, which is awesome.
That is correct.
Shine-worthy.
Yes, here at Shineworthy Tea. So, anyway, so our topic today is
Emotional eating.
emotional eating.
How many people eat when they're not hungry? I think most people.
Yeah.
But especially last night was election night here in America, and I saw so many people just posting they were eating crappy food out of stress or
McDonald's,
you know,
going to the drive-through late at night based on emotional responses. And
so I mean, no matter where you fall in America, it's a problem for everybody. I mean, I feel like we all have that response to emotion where we want to have comfort, and a lot of times that comes in food. So I want to talk about that a lot today.
we're going to talk about emotional eating, maybe why we do it, what we can do to avoid it, and
Yeah,
all that fun stuff.
absolutely. First, we need to know what is the difference between emotional hunger and physical hunger. And, most of the time we know when we're physically hungry, right? Your stomach growls. You may feel weak if you haven't eaten in a really long time. But emotional hunger comes on a lot more suddenly. You don't have those maybe physical... I'm losing my words because I'm really tired today. Yes.
Symptoms.
Physical symptoms, but you immediately crave something, and it's a specific something usually.
And we know how our bodies, and we know how much caloric intake we need. And if you have already eaten, say, a nice breakfast, a snack, and a lunch, and then all of a sudden an hour after lunch, something happens, and you are like, oh my gosh, I need a cookie or whatever.
Right.
Your body probably doesn't need more calories. Like, you're feeding it, so it's like, not necessarily what your body needs. It's your mind just looking for something.
Just something, right. And food, there's a lot of things in food that make us maybe feel like we're being comforted, but the problem is when you eat to fulfill that, it's not actually fulfilling it. So if you're eating because you're sad and you want to feel happy, you don't typically feel happy after you've eaten that. So it's not solving the problem, and you're just getting those extra junk calories usually that we don't need. Will you scroll? Sorry, I can't reach it.
I can scroll. We have some notes.
Some notes.
We're getting better with the researching of what we are doing.
Yeah, so you're just going to keep wanting more and more because you're not going to feel satisfied from this comfort food. But you're going to be full, but you're going to want more because you're not satisfied. So it just leads to overeating, feeling stuffed. And then it leads to more bad emotions like regret or guilt. Over like, oh, I can't believe I just ate this McDonald's meal. I know I shouldn't do that, and you feel guilty, and then the guilt leads to more emotional eating. So we want to recognize our triggers and know what to do about them. So that's what we want to talk about today. Again, we started with a little bit of
telling the
doom and gloom, but we want to give you hope that we can overcome this. So what are some of your triggers? A great way I like to have people figure out triggers is to keep a food journal. Write down what you're eating. You don't have to count calories and all that crap, but write down what you're eating and what you were feeling when you ate it. It might be that you write down your lunch and you're like, I was feeling hungry. Awesome. But you might write down, I ate a candy bar and I was feeling really stressed at work. So you're going to see those triggers like stress, boredom even. Do you eat in front of the television?
Boredom, just having something to do. How many people sit down? I know I've been guilty of this myself, and you're studying, and it may not be an activity that you're really wanting to do or engaged in, so you're like, I need to eat, because it gives you a reason to go distract yourself away from what you're currently doing.
Leah says election pizza.
Election.
Yes, that's exactly what we're talking about today, Leah. All the emotional eating
exactly.
stuff.
That was triggered by last night's emotional upheaval.
But what even about like childhood habits, like habitual eating? Like I was talking about eating in front of the TV, or did you always have a snack when you got home from school? So now when you get home from work, you feel like you have to have a snack.
Yeah, I get, when I grew up, we always would have something sweet after dinner. So now every time I eat dinner, I feel like I have to have something sweet. It's dessert. And it's just like that habit, like you said, that's been instilled. And it may not be, I don't need a dessert. I don't need a sweet treat. But it's just kind of like, oh, this is what you do after you eat dinner. You have dessert. So...
Well, and we see it in images around us too. So there's those social influences of we're taught that if we get broken up with, we're supposed to eat a gallon of ice cream in our bed, right? Like we're that's kind of ingrained in us. So we feel like that's what we're supposed to do. But obviously that's not what we're supposed to do. That doesn't heal sadness.
No, and it doesn't heal whatever it is we're feeling, like we said. So what is a way that we can then avoid emotional eating? Well, we can find other ways to resolve what we're feeling. So if we identify what triggers us, whether it be certain stressors or habits or times of day, whatever that's in us, or boredom, what are some things we can do to mediate or mitigate those feelings besides eating something?
So we can have a plan. Like she said, once we know what our triggers are going to be, we can recognize the trigger, like, oh my gosh, my boss is annoying again today. I am not going to eat that candy bar. Here's what I have planned to do. So, there's different ways. Like if you're depressed or lonely, instead of eating that gallon of ice cream, I'm not saying don't eat ice cream. I mean, sometimes ice cream is fun, right? But call a friend and talk. Who doesn't love chatting with their friends? I can say that, I've paid for therapy and I've had friend therapy, and both is just as good. So call a friend. It's a great way. If you have a pet, play with them.
Yeah, cuddle with your pet. Like cuddle your cat rather than eat a piece of cake.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, one of my favorite things to do, look at some old pictures. You have an old photo album, or even, if it's on your phone, go back and look at old pictures. Like, I get so caught up and can't stop looking at them once I start. But then you feel so much happier.
Yeah, and remind yourself, if you're depressed or like, you're not alone, and there are people that can support you. So reach out for connection. So if you're lonely and isolated, reach out for connection rather than something that you're not going to be able to connect with. Eating does not connect you to other people.
Absolutely.
And what you're needing in that moment is connection.
Yes.
So find a way to feed the connection.
So what about anxiety? Oh, a lot of people have anxiety today. I know that.
Yeah.
Nervous energy even. I love to dance, and there's many times when I'll even wrangle my family and be like, you know what? I'm having a stressful, anxiety-filled day. We're having a dance party.
Family dance party.
Crank up the music, get everybody dancing, and inevitably laughing because...
Yeah, exactly. Laughter can shake off the anxiety. Yeah, basically getting your body moving, because anxiety, what is it? It's just like nervous energy that doesn't have anywhere to go.
Right.
So give it an outlet. Give it somewhere to go.
Well, and they made those stress balls for a reason. Keep one nearby. It actually does help you release that anxiety. Take a walk outside. Man, even if it's cold outside, sometimes getting outside and just that cold air
wakes you up, refreshes. Change of venue to, if you're in a certain environment that you feel is just kind of like emotionally stuffy or oppressing, like remove yourself from the environment if you can, and go get a different perspective and remind yourself, hey, everything's okay.
Yep. That's really important too at work. If you're having that anxiety, take your 15 minutes and go outside. Mm-hmm. Get that vitamin D, change of scenery. Yeah, I love that. What about on days like today when
you're just exhausted, up late?
Tip number 1, treat yourself with a hot cup of tea.
Nice cup of hot, comforting tea. Take a bath. Wrap up in a nice fuzzy blanket. That's literally my favorite thing to do in the entire world. Is to wrap up in a fuzzy blanket and just feel cozy. And find ways to soothe and and actually rest. If you're exhausted, take a time to rest. Don't look for, because if we go and grab something sugary thinking, oh, this will give me a jolt of energy, basically what's going to happen is, yeah, maybe for 5 minutes, and then you're just going to plummet and be worse off than you were when you started.
Absolutely. That sugar crash is a real thing.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's awful.
You know, in our notes, light some scented candles. I'm not a huge fan of scented candles, but you can get a diffuser and diffuse some essential oils, and you can have that aromatherapy in a healthy way.
It's quite lovely. Like the lavender, I love the lavender.
And the reason I don't like scented candles is just because a lot of them are putting chemicals in the air that you're breathing in. So that's why I suggest the oils instead, because it's a healthy way to get that awesome aromatherapy. And they actually make blends like for these specific things, like feeling anxious or needing a boost when you're exhausted, things like that. So that's super cool. So I actually think what most of us deal with the most is that bored eating. Like at night when you don't have you're done with work, what are you gonna do now? We watch TV and we just munch and munch. So maybe changing up what we do at night, like instead of watching TV, read a book, and being like, I'm not gonna eat because that would be gross to get it on my pages or my iPad.
Do a jigsaw puzzle.
Right? Ooh.
Stimulate your mind.
That's fun.
I've thought about buying one just to like do a little jigsaw action.
Pick up a hobby.
Yeah, there you go. Find a new hobby. Teach yourself to knit. I don't know.
I've tried to teach myself to knit before. I actually made a few scarves one year for Christmas, and they were great, but then I was like, I can't do it any longer than a scarf. Like, I could never knit a sweater or a blanket.
Yeah, you'd have like one sleeve and a
right,
neck.
and then be like, done.
It's a new style, just like it's a halvesy with one arm. But if you are sitting and your proclivity is to munch all the time while you eat, like switch what you're munching on at the very least.
Absolutely.
Like eat some lightly popped popcorn with minimal butter or
so
salt.
You're craving salty. That is the perfect snack.
And think about it too, it's like something that you can eat and you can munch, and it's large quantity for minimal calorie. So
well, and if you're craving something sweet, go for like a piece of dark chocolate, or some fruit. Like we just got a plate of grapes, and grapes are a perfect like sweet thing that again you're munching on because it's not one big bite.
Right. So if you really do, want that type of an experience, you can alternatives. There's alternatives to grabbing like a big bag of Skittles or M&Ms or something.
Right. So what's the opposite of emotional eating? It's mindful eating. Have anybody ever heard the term mindful eating? So it's pretty self-explanatory. We're mindful of what we're eating, why we're eating. It's everything we've been talking about. We want to know our triggers. We want to realize when the trigger is happening, and we want to have that plan for not eating when we shouldn't eat.
Right. And part of that being when you feel like, oh my gosh, I have to have XYZ, I need to eat this, I'm stressed, whatever. Take a pause to find out, am I really hungry? Like helping distinguish. Like take 5 to 10 minutes and pause and drink a big glass of water.
Yes,
because
that is a big
sometimes we think we're hungry when really we're thirsty or whatever. But the act of maybe drinking a glass of water, waiting 5 to 10 minutes, and then make the decision, am I really hungry? Very likely, if it's emotional eating, the feeling will pass and you will have had time to wrap your brain around, I'm not really hungry.
Yeah. And don't tell yourself, like, I can't have this certain item, because that just makes you want it even more. It makes your brain focus on it.
Yeah, how many of us like to be rebels?
Right.
You tell me I can't have something, what do I want? The exact thing you told me I can't have.
But taking that pause and drinking that water allows you to evaluate, the situation.
Yeah, and potentially, then if you are like legitimately hungry, you can make a good choice, like the mindful.
Absolutely. Hey Denise,
part.
hey Tina.
Yay. Leah says, knitting's rad. I'm making my first pair of gloves.
Sweet.
Ooh, some gloves. Will they be like full fingered or mittens?
I wanted a pair of fingerless gloves forever, and a friend of mine at church knitted me some as a gift, and they're amazing.
There you go.
Thanks, Melanie. But we also, we want to learn to accept our feelings and deal with them instead of stuffing them down. And, we're not therapists, but we know that there's better ways to deal with our emotions than stuffing them down and filling our bodies with junk. So hopefully we're giving you some hope to deal with that. And if you are dealing with feelings that feel overwhelming to you, I think you should talk to someone and get
Yeah,
help.
reach out.
to
You know,
deal
find
with
support,
that.
find connection. There are. We hope we've showed you many different ways to find an outlet for your emotion rather than eating.
Absolutely.
Yay!
And our mental health, we talk about it a lot because it's super
Yeah.
important. And again, if you're dealing with overwhelming feelings, get help.
Yeah, reach out, find a buddy,
Yeah.
and then all that we can go back and listen to. I did one about stress, and there's a lot of good tips in there about what we can do when we're stressed or feeling
Yes,
overwhelmed.
absolutely.
So, yay! We hope we provided some good tips, and yes, we're all probably a little emotional, regardless of where
Yeah.
you stand. And
I know
just-
we're tired today.
Yeah,
that's our
staying up
emotion.
late, sleepy and exhausted.
Tired.
But yeah, just sending love to you guys and comment.
Yeah, I'd love to see if
Comment.
you have any suggestions of like things you've done to kind of overcome that emotional
Yeah.
eating. Like, let me know. I
Yeah,
love
let us
tips.
know what you're doing. Oh, and finally, we did make our official drawing.
Oh yes.
So we were a week behind, but
Sorry.
Brittany,
Yay!
Brittany, you are our winner for
Brittany.
October. So be looking in your mail, or because you will be getting a super cool prize.
Yay! Super exciting. So keep tuning in for your chance to win for November.
Yay!
Comment, share, all
Yeah.
that good stuff.
Exactly, because we love you and we want to keep coming to you live. I don't know what that
I know,
was.
like,
All right. Bye.
All right. See y'all next week.